Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to the Ikonns podcast. Today we have a very special guest, a friend, Dara Huang, who is a very successful architect, a furniture designer, an entrepreneur, a mom. What other titles can I give you, Dara?
Oh my God, I feel like you've covered it all, but thank you so much. That's such a nice intro.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Ever since Alex and I met you, we've wanted to interview you because I admire you so much, what you do. We're going to get like all emotional now. I can see you're already getting emotional and I'm mirroring back. But honestly, it's truly how I feel about you. You have this very special energy about you, always positive, always uplifting.
Feel the
and
same
you
way
know,
about
I would
you.
really love to share your story because I feel like it can be so inspiring to so many people listening and watching today.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for that intro. I feel the same way about you guys.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, so Dara, tell us a little more just about your background in like summary in terms of where you come from, because obviously we're now in London, but all of us are immigrants in this country. But I'm curious just about your childhood, your upbringing. Where do you come from?
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So
Going way back.
way back. Well, I was born in Titusville, Florida, because my dad worked for NASA for 40 years. So that's Cape Canaveral in America. So
Did you see like rockets go into space?
How
You
cool.
guys, I did. And they kind of like teach you two things when you grow up in Titusville. One is to hide under your desk because we have hurricanes in Florida all the time.
Exactly.
And the second one is to go outside and cover your ears for the rumbling of the shuttle because the whole earth vibrates.
I've never experienced that.
Yeah, so my whole childhood was watching shuttle launches. And then, it was really sad because I think it was somewhere just after the 80s, around the 90s, 2000s, where the government cut the funding for the space, for space. And then that, I remember Elon Musk said something where he said there's things that are inevitable. Like when you run out of gas, you have to have alternative energy. But space is not inevitable. You either decide to study it or you never study it at all. And so when government cut that funding, it was just sad. And now we're having like this make into space stuff that they were doing back in the 80s is now seen as like nuanced, which is cool, because I have this huge history with it. So that was my childhood. I think my dad grew up an immigrant at a time of war, and then he used like education and working at NASA as a way to really find freedom. So, we're like immigrants and we have these parents that work so hard for freedoms. One thing he taught me was like really hard work ethics, like education, working hard can give you the keys to life. So that's kind of how I grew up.
So where did you go to school then?
Well, I mean, I went to school, always a state school, always free schools. We weren't very privileged. I had academic parents. We didn't have a lot of money. So always free schools. And then when I went to graduate school, I applied to Harvard. I don't know what I was thinking because I never thought I would get in, right? So I applied to 20 graduate schools, and I covered
Why 20?
because I think it's okay. So one thing my dad taught me was hard work, and the second thing was like humility. Just like never like expect something. You got to work really hard for it, and then prepare for the worst type of thing.
Very immigrant mentality, right?
That was me preparing for the worst, guys.
I need to apply to 20.
I applied to 20, and that was very expensive. Like back then,
So much
even
work.
like
Because you have to pay for like the application.
yeah, there's an application fee. So for like
Was your dad like, okay, I will pay for as many as you need in terms of applications?
Yeah, but even that's like, I can't remember how much it was. I want to say it was between $100 and $200 in application fee. So, even that was like a lot for me.
When you're, 18, 17.
Yeah. But then the crazy thing was I got into all 20 schools.
But okay, Dara, but if you got into all 20 schools, including Harvard, and what other schools were there on that list? Like Stanford, Yale, I don't know.
Princeton, the whole like.
So what were you like a wonder kid? Like how do you?
So I was not okay. So I think this is very like clear to people is like, you don't have to be smart to get into a whatever, Ivy League school.
What?
Yeah.
You're blowing my mind. What do you mean you don't have to be smart?
So when I was 18, I went to a free state school for university or for college. And then I applied to grad school. I applied to 20 schools. I feel like university is kind of a place to get your basis. And then grad school is a place to like hone in your special skill set. And when you're applying to grad school, even to like Harvard or Cambridge, it's like you don't have to be that crazy smart kid, because I wasn't. In fact, I probably should have done a lot better. You just have to be crazy smart at that one specific topic. So mine was architecture. I went to the Graduate School of Design. And you have to submit a portfolio, and you have to have recommendation letters, and you have to write some letters. So you're being judged on talent more than just like your pure like grades, you know.
Oh, okay, so undergraduate you went somewhere else.
Yeah, I went to the University of Florida.
Oh, cool.
Because if you got good grades, you got to go to University of Florida. Universities for free if they're in-state.
Oh,
so
nice.
It was a state school.
But I think it's a good hack even to communicate, because I know you went to Harvard, and it's like, okay, wow, and right away any of those. I think with schools now, and I wonder with you, it's either you get the brand name, or you just there's no point to go to school. So I'm curious, having yourself obviously gone to these prestigious schools, do you think it's important, or like as an alumni now, looking back, what has it given you, and what would be your recommendation to people watching now or listening in regards to school? Because I'm very different, but I'm curious about what your take is.
I mean, like, listen, life has changed a lot since we were in school, right? Yeah. Now people are starting companies when they're 16 from their social media accounts.
Exactly.
And so I'm sure like the keys of life have really changed. But I will say that going to Harvard gave me a huge and different perspective on life, period. Whether it's like, one, it offers like these golden keys to the world, right? Because it gets you through a lot of, let's say, job interviews, and I feel like to some degree, even still, we're being judged on very superficial aspects of life, you know? So if you say, if you say you went to a certain school, people automatically categorize you or whatever. Yeah. And forget like the social aspects. If we're just talking about like pure success, I think that, of course, it's totally possible to not even have to go to school and just get started and see where life takes you. Because the stuff that I applied in running a business, I certainly didn't learn from Harvard or University of Florida, right? But I will say what Harvard did do was it totally changed and shaped the way that I thought and looked at things. And then my first job out of Harvard was with Herzog and de Meuron, which, they did the Beijing Olympic Stadium, the Tate Modern, they do these beautiful, iconic architecture. And that also honed and shaped my brain and the way I thought and the way I designed. So everything you do, I think, are life experiences that shapes the outcome of whatever you do. So my business skills didn't come from Harvard, but I think my thinking skills certainly did. And I think that was well worth it. And I don't think I would change that, because it's really hard to form and shape what we do as a business. And that whatever we do is a formulation of where we were before. And I think that the tricky part with Harvard was it wasn't a commercial school, it was an academic school. So how do I take my practice now and not make it too commercial and still have a hint of authenticity, of like academia, of like, thoughts that are just more than just, oh, this is pretty, So it's always like trying to mix.
Give more depth,
like money with like a deeper meaning. I feel like those are always two clashes that we run into as like even individuals. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing it? Is there a bigger meaning to this? So Harvard was good for deeper thinking, but not for business running.
So to take us more into just your career, and now as you're running your own business. And one of the segments I used to have back in the day is kind of like, what was it? It was like up and coming. What was on the rise? And the segment that I had is usually, I think we're pretty good at spotting people before they become like really mega big. So
You're one of them.
you're one of them. No, Dara.
You're already big.
No, you're doing no. What what I want to communicate is that I think it's great to see people like yourself who are doing things for themselves in terms of that love and to creating and seeing why not me. You know,
It's a good question.
So I think in that,
a good question.
So for yourself, because I think so many people listening and watching, a lot of times I think what sets a lot of people back is they think, oh, not me.
I was totally
and so you cringing, even me saying this to you, you're like, no, not me, right? even though inside you there is that person that me, you know. So can you take us through what in your experience has allowed you to, number one, move to London, to have your own business, work with incredible clients, build this business and career for yourself, and not only that, you also have incredible, you know, in terms of friends and community that you're part of. We know each other, which is great. Curious about that. What's inside you that allows you to apply to Harvard, to do all these things?
I totally agree with you, because I am that person that's like, no, they'll never be me. No, they'll never be me. And then I changed my mindset, like consciously, to be like, well, why not me? And it was exactly verbatim that. So when you said that, I really connected to it, because I got to a point where I was like, somebody has to go there, or somebody has to do it. Like why can't it be me?
How did you change your mindset? Because I'm sure many people want to, but they're kind of stuck in that old thinking that I'm not good enough.
You guys, there's still plenty of things today that I look at and I'm thinking like, well, what are their alternative choices? So I'll give you an example. I'm just saying that it's like applicable at like any stage of your life. I feel like part of being an entrepreneur is no matter what we do, we'll never feel like we've made anything because we always want more, or we want the next step or the next thing. So we're like, okay, we're getting there. Every step is like, we're getting there, right? But like right now, for example, in the UK and in the US, they need a new spokesperson for interiors. And so we're doing a lot of sizzles right now, both for HGTV and, we're doing something with Channel 4 that's launching next year. And then we're doing more right now, because it's like sizzle season, to do more shows based on just our studio. And there's a large part of me that's like, oh, this isn't going to happen. But then I'm like, well, if I don't do that, like who else is going to do it, right? And I have to think, okay, so why me? They need someone who's an expert in design, has a certified, they're like registered architects, so are like pros and experience, and then someone who's good on camera and can like speak. So I'm like, okay, so why not me? But the thing is, it's not like I don't want to be a TV host. I want to be a designer and create a brand. So whether I do it or not is another question. I do this thing where I just go for it, whether or not I want to do it, and then decide after, like, so do I want to do it or not? And then you have to weigh up the opportunity costs. And it's not always about money. Sometimes it's about like, I want to go in this direction. Will that next step take me closer to it? And then I have to just keep thinking like, well, why not me? Like, somebody has to do it. Another example was I'm a judge for the Design Awards. And the irony is, even though I'm a judge for the second year, for the second time in a row, I don't think that we could win one, even though they're asking me to be a judge. And so whilst I'm judging this, I'm like, to be quite honest, I'm like, I just thought that there could have been more applicants.
Absolutely.
But there's too many people afraid, thinking that they're not going to win.
Exactly.
And we're all sitting around judging this, being like, okay, well, it's between these two. And like, to be quite honest, we don't think either one of them should win, but there's nobody else there's nobody else to put up there. And I'm thinking, well, why didn't we apply? You know what I mean?
But I think this is such an important conversation that we're having, is that so many people simply do not put themselves out there.
Stifled by fear.
Yeah, stifled by fear. And why not? Why not try to go for the best in terms of school, or best
Applied
job.
at 20.
Yeah. So
Just take a punt. Why not?
yeah. So I think that's really important for people listening right now or watching this, is to understand that. Why not you? And I remember Steve Jobs, I think, made that this incredible speech about, everything we see around us, especially in this room, whether it be this couch, sofa, this coffee table, these microphones, this camera, our clothing, everything around us is made by somebody.
That's true.
So why not
point.
you? Why not you be able to put that impact into the world and create something? I think as creators and entrepreneurs, and I think you really relate to this, one of the most satisfying things that we receive is actually putting things out in the world that other people interact with. I think for yourself also, as an architect and designer, you get to shape spaces, where it be in people's homes, but now you're expanding to public spaces. So talk us more through that side of your world, of being able to shape reality to a certain degree and be able to create these experiences for people.
Well, one thing that you said that I thought was interesting was you were saying we put things out into the world, and then I love your story too about how you put out a product and then how you got people to recognize it, and a lot of it was through social media, which is like the new form of media. But I think what I learned as an entrepreneur is like when you make something beautiful and you put it out into the world, and I think this was something I learned early on, is that nobody cares. You have to like ring a lot of bells, and you really have to like get it into like the media for it to like be something, right? So we're creating a furniture line, because you're talking about like furniture and clothes, and you can make it, but nobody will know about it. So it's all about like marketing. It's all about social media. And now the new forms of PR is like social media. It's all about like getting it out there, and making a lot of noise about it to get people to actually care or want to buy it or to consume it.
Tell a good story why they should invest in this product rather than a million others.
Yeah, exactly. And creating a brand around it, which I think is really important. And I think one reason why architects kind of are really miserable PR people is because that's not really like their remit or their personality. So often there's so many great spaces that get created, and then there's like they're like stories untold, because how many people visit like nobody knows about them, right? But you're right, like to be able to physically construct like spaces that change the way people live and think and work, and even if you never tell anybody about it, and it's just between you and a homeowner or you and a business owner, I feel like it's those human interactions that really make me feel good as a designer. Like, there's everything we do for work, and then there's things we do that make us feel really good, that aren't money related and aren't media related. It's just like a cause of humanity. Like, I can die knowing that I did well doing this for somebody, and I think architecture is one of the most powerful tools of like creating to impact people's lives. And I think that's why I chose to be an architect, was because I thought it had such a great like gift for humanity. And I tried to you guys, there was one point in my life before I became an entrepreneur where I thought I was a miserable architect because I got fired, okay? And I was like, I did so well in school, what's going on?
And from the first firm?
Why did you get fired?
Huh?
From your first job or after?
I don't want to say which company it was,
yes, of course,
because we now partner. They recommend my company.
I love this.
Yeah, to really big brands like Waldorf Astoria, and we do projects together now where our names are both in the limelight. Like like we get published by Wallpaper and all these big media companies with our both of our companies side by side. So
why did you get fired?
Because I am a terrible, like I was telling you earlier, I'm a terrible executor. Yeah. Like, I'm not the type of person who can sit down and draw a stair detail all day. I'm terrible. I'm like I have ADD. I'm all over the place. I can't sit still.
I can relate to all of these things.
I'll draw it totally wrong. It'll be like sideways. I remember one time they're like, the lines don't align. I was like, ooh, I can't. But I'm really good at like vision, igniting, like structuring the deal. Like I'm just an entrepreneur through and through.
Yeah.
So I got fired from a job. I thought I was a terrible architect. And then I tried to dip into other jobs that were like make money quick type of things. I'm like, I'll come up with an app. I'm like, wait, no, apps didn't exist then. Sorry, I'm too old for that. I was like, I'll come up with. At that time, there was like the tech boom, so I wanted to do like this is really silly, guys, but I'm like, why do like girls buy their wedding dresses and guys rent their tuxes? Shouldn't it be like the other way around? And I was trying to think of like get money quick solutions, but that's not ever gonna work because it's all about because business is like this, and you got to like last through it. So you have to find something that you love and that you would do even if there was no money, right?
Absolutely.
And so I dipped into these different things. One was a CGI company. One was a chandelier installation maker, which they were both making tons of money based on design, but I didn't feel fulfilled. Like I wasn't like, this isn't grand or big or like really making my heart beat. I don't walk in and be like, oh, I'm inspired. So I went back to architecture, this time in interiors practice, where it was so small. It wasn't like this because I was working corporate. It was so small that I learned that one thing I was quite good at was actually bringing clients to this tiny company. So I only worked there for a year, learning how to do interiors, kind of, sort of. I was doing more retail stores. And then I was bringing all these clients. And then on the last client, I was like, you know what? I might take this for myself and see how it goes. So I said to my then boss, you guys, I was a very punchy, like 28-year-old, okay? I was like,
was this still in the U.S.?
No, this was
here.
Already here, yeah. I was like, so I'm ready to be partner. I didn't even know what partner meant. I had no idea what running a business.
Why not
meant,
me?
Right? I was very punchy. I'm like, so I want to be a partner, and if you can't make that happen, then I guess I'll just go start my own business. And he must have looked at me. I love the confidence. He like literally looked at me that it was like, are you on drugs? Like, what is your, And it was so funny because a year after I started my business, I ran into him at a party and he was like, I tell everybody that you're the one that got away. And I was like, get away from what? I was never gonna stay. But it was funny that we grew so much in our first year. We literally went from me alone in a little hardware shop to, let's see, I think we're 15 people already in our second year with a contract with Starwood Capital for 169 units. And that was only a year into business. I had no idea what I was doing. You guys, fake it till you make it. I still do it. It works every time. Just do it.
But at the same time, I think, Dara, as you're saying this, so it seems like he didn't make you partner. And he's like, Dara, you go on your own, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I say this all the time, every like mishap, downfall, like, being fired, anything that ever, even like broken up with, guys, every downfall in life was the universe's way of readjusting you to be where you're supposed to be. And it hurts. I've cried, like I felt ashamed. I couldn't tell my parents that were like Asian and took me through Harvard that like I was fired. Like there's so many things that happened in life that were not easy and just made me a much better person and put me where I'm supposed to be today, right? Like I'm running my own business now, like we're not even gonna get into my personal life because you all know about it, but I just thank God that these horrible things happened, or else I wouldn't be where I am today. I was like forced to start my own business. I was forced to be an entrepreneur because that is who I innately am. And I think the opposite, like there's nothing wrong with just working for somebody else.
Absolutely.
If it wasn't for my team that were so good, I wouldn't have a company. And so if you find that you fail at your company and you're not meant to be an entrepreneur, there's a lot of satisfaction in running a company and getting whatever you get that makes you satisfied, and whatever rewards or whatever that turns into, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
Yeah, no, I think there's so many things that you're touching on. Obviously, we relate to. I got fired as well, which was
yes, Flower Squad.
Yeah, Mimi dropped out. Mimi dropped out of.
Quitter.
Mimi dropped out of college,
and quit when he lost his job.
Yeah.
You know what? Mark Zuckerberg went to school with me, and he dropped out too. And then Bill Gates.
I didn't know he also dropped out.
Yeah, Harvard.
Yeah, he did.
Out of Harvard.
And Bill Gates gave us our commencement speech, and he was a dropout too. So go drop out.
No, you finished school. You finished Harvard. But, and I finished university too. But I think what I'm trying to communicate and say is that what you said is so beautiful, is that the challenges, so many people, when they face challenges, they actually get like kind of down on themselves and they get in the spiral. And a lot of times, people ask me, why do you guys practice gratitude and why is it so important in the day-to-day practice? I believe practicing gratitude allows you to, when you face challenges like that, you can still see, okay, what else do I have that's going for me? What can I appreciate in this moment? Where can I pivot? What can I do that is guiding me towards life that can put me in the right direction? In all those situations, same thing as you said, whether it be breakups, careers not working out. And that's how I see it. It's like I sometimes use this too when we have to let people go. Unfortunately, I'm like, hey, for me, when things didn't work out my way, it allowed me to be on that path that I should be on.
Better.
Because I think a lot of us, we try to force stuff.
Yeah, we force so many things. Force relationships, force jobs, force. We all say, I'm sure you guys have said it too, we don't fire people quick enough. Like, we know it's not working out, and we don't think of it straight as a business decision. We're like, maybe we can work it out. Maybe we can try something else. Maybe. But you're helping yourself, and you're helping them as well find that path. And I think that's really important to let people know that bad things are for good reasons.
And same thing, and same thing with relationships. And another thing, I think, we're talking about kind of departing, leaving, whether it be jobs, relationships, or careers, but at the same time entering. I think a lot of times what we try to do is like, if it's not a hell yeah, like if you're like, oh yeah, I should, this person, like there's like, let's say in a relationship, a lot of people, like when you're desperate, you're like, oh yeah, I guess I'll be with you because I'm alone, so let's just be together. And it usually doesn't work out.
But there's no longevity to it because it's hard. And so if you're not in it for because you just absolutely love it, you want it, if I wasn't paid to design, I would be designing because I love to. I can't even help it. I walk into a space and I'm like, 2-second design happening in my head. I want to fix it.
I know you came in here. You're right away, commenting on the space. It's so natural.
It is natural.
It's so effortless, and that is the beauty of what you do. Yeah. You actually do what you're meant to do.
And if you're not, you'll be fired and rearranged until what you're doing is there. And I think especially in this day and age where every Gen Z wants their own company, and they all want it now, that is the wrong way to look at things. Nothing happens now, okay? Wake up call. Nothing happens in a stroke, in an instant. It's like, even when we did well our first year, it's like, okay, I went through 8 years of school to train for that. And then after that, I studied and worked for a number of years and got fired and all sorts of things. But the one thing, so I always say business is about kind of 3 main things. It's about the product, or in my case, it was the service. It's about the operations, which includes financial structure, management, whatever. And then, so talent, operations, and then it's about the ability to attract business, whether that's PR, comms, media, social media, business development, anything that gets money in. And so if you're a Gen Z and you can have 2 of these circles, you can hire the 3rd. Exactly. If you have 1 of these circles, you're not going to get anywhere. Really? Yeah, 100%. So the 2 that I had was I had the product, the vision, and I had the ability to generate money. I didn't have the ability to manage money and the ability to manage. I tried, but I wasn't successful at it. So a great business will have this triangle in perfect balance. And your triangle will get skewed through a business. Because you might have you know, I don't know any business that has this, but amazing financials, but your product kind of sucks and you're not selling, right? Or you might have an incredible product, but you're running out of money because you didn't structure your operations correctly, and your marketing abilities are weak. Well, whatever. I'm saying that like you have to be in a full-fledged triangle. I had this and this, but I didn't have that, and I hired for it. I did it myself very weakly. And then I say the most important thing in a business is to know what you are very, very good at and what you're bad at, so that you can hire somebody for that third leg.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I ended up doing. But it took me a while to afford and be able to structure that.
Exactly, because you were always on your own. Did you ever have a partner?
Well, so I started on my own, but within like the first 2 months, I was like, I can't write these contracts. My brain doesn't even work that way.
I'm the same.
So I had this girl join me. She was 26 years old. I was her first job out of like grad school. And she was like, I just noticed that she was very good at writing and she was very good at reading. She was very meticulous and detail oriented. And I'm probably like you guys, more big picture thinking. Yeah. And so I realized that actually, even though she was hired to be an architect, she would be better at writing contracts than I would be. So I was like, all right, can you write my contracts? And she's like, yeah, sure. She was like up for doing it. And she became my part-time PA, contract writer, team manager. Look, we're only like 5, okay? We're probably less than them. We're probably like 4. I shared an office with my friend. And I think what you have to do as a business owner is like recognize what people's skill sets are and then stick them into those slots. And then as you grow, you'll find specialists to take their place. Like then I had now I have a financial team, an accountant, a bookkeeper. Like I have all that now, but starting out, it's like wearing lots of hats, you know?
Yeah, you could go from being a generalist to more moving to specialist. But I think at the beginning, as you said, that triangle, that trifecta, that kind of intelligent change logo, we have a triangle.
Do you? There you go, guys. We're all on the same page.
It's so important because one of the biggest things that we've learned as well in our journey as entrepreneurs is the same thing, is that realizing you're most likely as a founder, you're a visionary, understanding that, hey, you can't do all, and seeing what is your strength and what is your weakness, and then being able to, as you said, make that kind of trifecta or that triangle or that stool, whatever will work, is so important. And for us in our previous business, once we had that realization, it was actually
it takes a while, doesn't it?
It was actually reading a book called Traction. I'm not sure if I talked about it.
I should look that up.
You love it. Okay. I think for anybody watching, listening, and this is probably my most recommended book to entrepreneurs, because especially as you start, you figure things out, as we also did in our earlier stage. And then as you start growing, you're like, maybe your growth might stop at some point. Because to truly scale, you need to be able to build that team around you. You need to be able to get the parts where you're weak at to be able to help you to get to that next level. And a lot of times for founders, it is more that operations. And as it was for us, so with our previous business, once we got operations in place, and boom, and it was just beautiful. There's that synergy, everything works out. That person's operating from their strengths. We're operating from our strengths. Yeah. And we're currently right now still looking for an operator for our current business. Because it isn't in some parts.
Both of us, guys. I'm telling you, we always somehow start back at like square one. Doesn't matter how far we've gone, we're like, we need more.
But I think also what happens to a lot of even operators, as you said, it's important for us to be operating from our zone of genius, something that we're really strengths. And because of media and social media and how people see, a lot of times they get, I need to be an entrepreneur, I need to be the visionary, and somebody can be a really good number 2. And I had these conversations because a lot of times everyone gets seduced into this idea of being an entrepreneur, so sexy and visionary, but like not everyone's got that.
Guys, kind of Instagram is fake. Let's just put that out there and clarify that right now. People think no matter what our jobs is, it's so glamorous.
It's only the highlights.
So pretty. But that's because we've put that out there because that's part of the branding strategy, right? And actually a business is so much about operations, which is 50%, and it's back of house. You don't see them, but that's what your whole business is structured on. And then there's the pretty stuff, which is all people see and want and gravitate towards too, but they just get all the the actual the part that makes the business. Like, but I'm exactly the same place you are. Like, I'm looking for I'm creating a product, and that's very different from a service. So I have a service business doing architecture and interiors, and with a product, it's so much about your supply chain.
Can you share more about what you're creating?
Yes, we're doing, it's a good point. I'm doing a furniture line. Right now, we're launching next year. It's called Dara Maison, so it's my house, and we're actually going to have a show home, because I feel like people don't want to go into like high street stores and to some
genius.
Yeah, they want to go.
Why don't they do that?
Well, restoration hardware, like I think part of
In
their
the
genius
US,
of restoration hardware, they create these incredible spaces.
Yes.
That
you know,
look like
so,
real homes. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have never been into a restoration
Really?
hardware store.
Oh, you
No.
should next
I
time
know
you're in
about
the
their
they're coming to
business.
the UK.
They are. They bought my friend's house actually. Yeah, and so
See?
I do know that they do that. I just haven't. I think I have been into one meatpacking district, but I can't remember it.
Yeah.
But I just like going into people's homes and like, I love this home. I love coming here and it feels personal. It has your books and you learn something about the person, or if we have a dinner, it's like your home cooked food. There's just something nice about being at home.
Yeah.
So the concept is that you can come into my home and you can see and be able to buy anything, and we represent young artists as well. So if you're like, oh my God, I love that painting, well, it can be in your home and we can deliver it to you the next day. So you can like scan anything or just put it in your bag and then just take it home with you. And so it was a way for us to work with artists that are underrepresented. We don't want to carry anything like too pricey. We're trying to aim for art anywhere from $7K and down. So just beautiful, like great talented people curating in a space, and then it's our furniture line. And we just want it to be comfortable, available. How many times have you heard someone be like, I'm moving to London and I have to sleep on the floor for 2 months to 6 months before my bed arrives, which is not excusable, and family friendly, so staying proof. And so yeah, just stylish, accessible furniture.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I love
thank you.
I love your designs and furniture, and obviously you have incredible clients that you work with too. So we're very excited. And if you ever want to use our house as a show home,
actually, since you're doing a podcast, I will definitely put my sofa here, and you will fall in love with it. And Alexa can spill her stuff, and it's okay. Permanent marker, it all comes off.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. No, because I love it. Because it's also like we're talking about neutrals and warm tones.
Yeah. I love
timeless. Really.
Yeah. And having that like statement piece when people come to your house, they're just like, wow, like beautiful sofa.
Yeah.
All of our tables are real stone, but I don't think it needs to be expensive. So we found a way to basically cut out all the middlemen, right? And go straight from basically supply to consumer, to give the consumers the most incredible marble tables, the most incredible, luxury quality in sofas. We use solid walnut, solid woods. So it's how do you bring quality to the consumer? Because if you launch anything these days, the only person that matters is the consumer, right? Because with like social media and everything, they'll find a way to have a louder voice than any corporate. Yeah. So it needs to be about the consumer in mind.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when is it launching?
So it's launching next year, guys. Oh my God, it's like
so soon. I mean, we're already in November, so
yeah, I didn't say the beginning of next year, but we're looking
sometime next year.
We're looking at mid next year.
And what's in the range? There's a sofa, I'm sure. Right?
Yeah, so it's basically it's a collection that you can either add to your current pieces. Or you can put them together and you can create. I wasn't like the designer that's like, here's my chair, but it like sticks out like a sore thumb. We're all about using like neutral tones and really blending it into the space and just making it more sophisticated, I think is the key. right? It's like we don't want to look like you're shopping from made.com forever. At a certain point, you want to like reach that level where you're like, welcome to my sophisticated home, but not have the price points, right? So our sofas are still starting at 4,000. Our marble tables are 3. We wanted to be able to get people to get like beautiful, and our style is very different from Soho Home, because even though like we have similar price points, our quality is, I don't know if I can say this, but it's so much higher, right? It really is. So
was that really important for you when you were designing
quality?
These pieces?
Yeah, I don't want to sell people junk. I want them to, you know, when they move, they're like, this is my wow marble table. It's coming with me, and that's going to be my centerpiece. Or for me, I think like the dining table, the sofa, and the coffee table just need to be just like amazing. Of course, we have the full range side tables, stools, but those are like your staples. And we're also doing a rug as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. And I guess to the question I want to ask you in regards to this, a lot of people listening are also maybe in the creative industry, and I think a lot of times what you mentioned is like to get to that point of, let's say, developing your own, a whole business and furniture line and things like that, you still have to get to the point where in a way you are a professional. And I think a lot of times even yourself and us when we're starting out, we're amateurs, you know. And yes, you have fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody.
But at the same time, let's be real. Like you still get to the point where you're working with certain, professional manufacturers. You're the way you're presenting, the way you're putting stuff together. And as you said, it took you time to get there.
Yeah. How many years has this project been going for?
Well, it's interesting because. So one thing I was saying I'm good at is putting together deals and coming up with an idea. So over lockdown, I put together the idea and I found the capital to then do it. And so we all of a sudden had product. But as you know, product doesn't go anywhere without money for marketing and sales and all that kind of great stuff. And at first I was like, well, I don't need an investor because I have my own clients and we're selling our product to our clients. So no way. I was like, okay, that's fun and done. But then, and then I met this investor who basically made consumer goods at a huge scale. And I thought, wow, here's a real opportunity for me to take my talent, which is design, and not have it be like this bespoke service, but have a product where you can like sell a company and make some real value for yourself, because, I think we work really hard at some point. It'd be nice just to be where you guys are, which is like, I've sold my company. I'm just going to invest and watch other people. No, I'm kidding.
No, we're still in it. We're still in it. We're back with our second one.
But I think like I was saying, that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur is like we're a bit restless and we always want like something different, something else. And it's not always about the money. A lot of times it's just about like fulfillment. Yeah. And I think that's great because I've also met the opposite, like people that just don't work. And I'm like, I don't get it. What's going on with you? Like, what fills your day?
I've had those. I remember growing up poor. I was like, I don't get why rich people keep working. Like, once I have money, I'm not gonna work. Like,
I don't believe that.
Well, I thought that, and then, as we're very privileged to, like I said, had that very comfortable exit. To some people, in a way, it's like winning the lottery. You can just stop doing stuff. Number one, you realize, especially when you live in London, it's not that much money.
I know. I'm like, damn.
Inflation is real, and for everybody, including people with money. And number two.
And that's at any level, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Because then they start comparing, like, oh my God, that guy has a huge yacht, and I don't have that. Whatever they.
No, because they're outgoings. So at any level, they're everyone's broke. Anyways.
But that's another thing I realized is just the importance of what wealthy people have, even if they're not working. They'll have assets working for them, and your business is one of the biggest assets that you can create. And that was probably one of the biggest mindset shifts that I've had, because before, when you're starting out, you're like, I just want to make salary, so I don't work for somebody. You know, that's your first kind of step as an entrepreneur. Then you're able to create salary for yourself, and you're busy. Then you're okay. I'll pay somebody else. and even now, you must be thinking like, how am I even like paying these salaries? I would be happy back in the day with the salaries that I'm paying. Let's say people, right?
Well, there's that whole like the man with the fisherman analogy.
Yeah.
But I swear to God, if I had all the money in the world, I would have a small design studio where we'd do beautiful projects, but I can't execute, so I'd hire a few people to do it. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm back to where I am right now. So I think that, you know, my investor, his name is Chris Birch. He is a wildly successful serial investor and entrepreneur. I'll tell you this, I've been working with him now for about, I guess, a year, maybe just over a year. He has never been late, which is crazy. I'm late all the time, right? He is continuously curious. Like when we meet a new entrepreneur, he doesn't just say, what do you do? He says, how did you grow up? Where are you from? Like his curiosity for learning and people. He still goes to the office. And he goes there early. I went to Hamptons to see his house that we're doing. And he's like, well, I need to leave by 7 a.m. because I have an 8 a.m. meeting in New York City. And so we all had to get in the car and drive there, you know. And
so early.
Yeah, and look, we're talking about a guy who's got billions and does not need money or to make any money. And he doesn't invest because he's trying to grow his portfolio. He does it because it excites him. This is what makes him happy and drives him. And I love people that don't work for money but work for passion, and they're really into it, you know. And I have a feeling like as an entrepreneur, we're always gonna be this way, and we're always gonna find a way to like carve and make sure that like what we want, whatever it is like coming true. You know.
Well, I think that the point that you bring up is the most important point to get to, because I think most people, and I said we've been there ourselves, where because I said especially when you don't come from abundance and you come from scarcity and not a lot of money, you think, okay, I just want to survive, I want to make money, or I want to have some luxuries in life.
Oh yeah, totally.
And then that's the realization that we had once we had created abundance. We're like, hey, actually, like it's not just for making money. And I think what I tell people a lot of times is that even with our intelligent change business, you know, we had a previous co-founder that we've created the business with. He was like, I just want to create a lifestyle business and I just want to have this money. That's how we started. I said, hey, you can do that. But as you said, Dara, yourself, is that even if you succeed, you're still not going to be happy if you're not doing what you love. And at the same time, all businesses are difficult. Meaning for you to get through the hump when things are not going well, especially maybe the time that we're entering now and things like that, you have to love it to go through the shit to a certain degree.
That's a lot of shit.
Yeah, there is.
I call it like shit batting. We're up to bat every day. We're like.
Elizabeth Gilbert in her book Big Magic calls it, you have to eat the shit sandwich. Like it's just
every day, guys. For years.
But it's part of the creative process and also entrepreneurial process, and touching upon that too is that but I think it's important that we're speaking about this because
people don't realize that.
Yeah, we're in the in the kind of also more, I guess, public, and you are as well. If you're on social media. And I'm sure you've been in those interviews. I've had an interview recently where it was a great goal, but they think if they're going to work for us, all of a sudden they're going to like live life like the way they see it on
that. Everyone wants to work for us because we put out a very glamorous profile. And we're like, do you know how much work it takes to make that shit look glamorous? You know? Like, I actually got dressed this morning, Mimi. I don't look like this every day.
Yeah, exactly. But even the point I think we're trying to make as well is that the importance of understanding that, hey, sometimes you have to go through challenges. Sometimes you have to go through hard work. Sometimes it can be for a few years. It's not just instant. And a lot of times, I think even in ourselves, because people think, you just think this is a glamorous life. The reality, even myself or Mimi, a lot of times there's late nights. You're just on your laptop, doing away. It's not the stuff that people want to see. They think we're just vacationing all the time.
I mean, I'll admit, like, I was in the service industry, so I actually thought going into products was gonna be easier. You know, like you design it once, people can buy it or fuck off, you know. And then it's you know, what I realized is actually when you're in products, you're in the logistics industry. You're not actually in the making beautiful things industry, you know. And I'm not just shipping a bathing suit; I'm shipping a sofa.
Wow,
You
yeah.
know what
I cannot even imagine.
We do
So-
books, so it's a little
Exactly.
lighter, you know?
You guys are good. You're good.
Yeah.
You can just stack it like a few boxes. So yeah, that really, you know, and then the whole supply chain, and then there was a war, like any like global macro to micro issue that happens. Like for example, we're looking at manufacturing. One country was Turkey. They've got great textiles and great quarries, but politically it's not the most stable. They can just come in at any time. Like for example, they just came in 4 weeks ago and said you can no longer bring in textiles from China, right? Just like that. And so I feel like in a business,
And I can imagine how much textiles are actually coming from China.
well,
right?
actually, luckily we're testing a lot of factories and a lot of suppliers right now, so we didn't have like one mainstream route. So thank God.
There are other options.
So no, we've got like tons of other options and factories we're working with at the moment. But I just think that one thing that makes business so difficult is it's not in isolation. It's a global issue. It's a global challenge. And we're sitting here dealing with politics, with logistics, with human opinions that can go online and say anything at any time. So you're dealing with the consumer, you're dealing with so many things at the same time. All you want to do is make something great and sustainable, and you know, and you can work so hard at it, but you literally have, it's like pushing an elephant through a keyhole, you know. And so listen, like the whole idea is that our value and our vision was just to provide people with beautiful, affordable objects. We want it to be sustainable, but if anything's truly sustainable, I've learned, and I learned this from Nicholas Kirkwood, another incredible entrepreneur, that sometimes the most sustainable thing is something that you keep forever.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the
Right?
most sustainable.
He's like,
longevity,
he's like, it's worse to have a plastic ball that you recycle and then recycle and then recycle and then recycle. He's like, what you want is that one plastic bottle you've used for your entire life over and over again. And, you know, for water, you know, the same purpose. He's like, that's far more sustainable than just recycling it, right? And so whilst we're looking at like recycled threads, we found beautiful velvets and textiles from recycled mills, and we love that. All I want people to do is just to keep their furniture the way that our parents did. I mean, when we were born till probably still, our parents still have the same sofa, you know. But here we are moving and like whatever, and our furniture has become disposable, like fast fashion. Like, how do we change that? And I think by creating beautiful, like well-crafted things, people will want to take care of that. They'll want to restore it. They'll want to be like, oh, I can't wait to see my sofa and my table in my next place. It's not IKEA, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the power of design as well, and making design more evergreen. So as we're about to, and kind of more to wrap up, I was wondering your thoughts on how do you, because as a designer yourself, how can you make design to be more evergreen in that way? Like, what's your approach to knowing, because what a design is trendy versus what design can test those times and not.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's about being classic. You know, it's about never going out of trend. I don't want something. That's why all of our colors are neutral, because I always think accent colors should be brought in with the accessories, like the pillows, the throws, like whatever. I mean, sometimes if you want, you can send us a fabric and we'll cover it in bright orange if that's what you really want, you know. But it's almost like buying staple pieces of clothes.
Absolutely. I was just thinking that.
Because I know Mimi loves fashion and sustainable fashion.
Yeah, over the years I've realized the same, that if I'm going to buy investment pieces, I don't want them in bright green or yellow. I want them in black, navy, cream, white, you know, all these beautiful colors. and styles that can last forever.
Yeah.
Well, as long as possible. Nothing is forever probably, but you know, that I can wear for years and years. And also when I finish with it, that somebody else will want this piece.
Oh yeah.
And same with the furniture.
That's the thing.
Right? We have this vintage piece. You can't see it in the video,
wow, it's beautiful.
but
That.
it's from China, and it's
love
more
that.
than 150 years old.
Oh my god.
That we brought
I
from
love
Toronto.
That.
So the reason we brought it with us
Yeah.
is because it has that special story.
Yeah, and you can tell it's got character because it's got that antiquing to it. And I love that when you can keep a piece of furniture long enough, that wear and tear becomes part of that character. You know, like leather that has like handprints. Like I love that. It's like nothing has to be shiny and new, as long as it's authentic. So I think authenticity, timelessness, like all of our stones, if it's not a dining table, I left the holes unfilled. I want it to look like a real piece of stone, honed, very natural. And that honestly, if you give someone something great, they will take care of it and bring it with them. Yeah.
Well, I love it, Dara. We can speak for hours. We can probably have a 5-hour podcast. I think we'll have a part two. More part two with you as well. Before we leave, I want to give you a chance. You know, what else would you want to communicate to people listening they're on their journey, you know, starting out, like maybe Dara when you're 18 or about to, or whatever. What would be kind of your main kind of you recently had to talk about kind of your theory and things like that, but what will be that main insight that you'd want people to carry with them as they begin their journey?
I think that you absolutely need to do what you love. As I said, you have incredible amounts of intuition, and don't try not to second guess that. Face fear head on, because there's only one way to find out, and if it doesn't go the way you want it to, it got you closer to knowing where you should go. I mean, God, I failed in so many things, like finding a nanny, there's so many things. And I think the most important thing is to think positively, because that is the only thing that's going to get you out of bed and make you keep going for it. Is you have to be like, I'm that much closer, I don't want to stop now. You know, my friend says it's like chiseling away at a wall and not knowing the other side. She's like, but if you chiseled that much, you can't just stop chiseling. You know, so it's just think positively. And just, and the world, even if you don't do anything, the universe will readjust it for you. So that's the beautiful part. So you don't have to do anything at the same time, but do your best.
So also building that trust with the universe, I guess, right?
Yeah, you know, like I said, it's a painful process. And then while you're crying, you're like, but why? And then know that it is to work out for the better.
That's amazing. Well, Dara, we're supremely grateful for your presence here.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having me.
For the energy that you bring, because I think the most important thing that you carry with you is your smile, is your positive energy, as you said, that positive thinking. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we hope everyone enjoyed watching this, listening to wherever you are, and looking forward to seeing you more, taking over the world with Dara Maison and everything you have coming.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Bye.